Welcome to the Root of All Broth. I'm Kathleen Hill, and this is a show where we talk about the inspirations behind the foods that we cook. Today I'm inspired by not only my favorite food, but my favorite recipe. It's so easy. I think you're going to love it. It's cabbage and sausage. Let's get started. And remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Okay, I call this my favorite recipe because it's so simple and so delicious. So we're going to start with 3 slices of bacon. Any kind of bacon that you wish to buy at the store, thick cut, thin cut, whatever, anything will work. So we're going to go ahead and just keep it in the way it came in the pack, which is kind of lined up here, which will make it much easier for you to cut. Okay, you need to make sure that your knife is super sharp because when you're cutting through bacon, it really does need to be sharp. And we're just going to start chopping it. It doesn't have to be big pieces. Guys, it's a beautiful day here. I have been listening to music while I was cleaning the kitchen, getting ready for this episode. I don't know if you guys listen to Willie Nelson or Linda Ronstadt or Merle Haggard. If you don't, get into it or find whatever music you like to listen to. Actually, in the comments, put what kind of music you like to listen to when you're cooking. I'm really interested to know. All right, so back to the cutting. And now we're just going to put this in our Dutch oven here. I've got it all set up right here beside me. And then I'm going to take this over to the stove. Okay, I've moved my Dutch oven to the stove with my bacon in it. I'm not turning it on yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and get that ready because we're going to cut our cabbage. And we don't want to have the bacon burn on the stove while we're cutting the cabbage. So just get it ready and put it over there, and then we'll turn it on later. I'm using a cleaver because it can be very hard. There you go. Now move to your French knife. You don't need this. Sometimes if you have a longer knife, a longer French knife, you can use that to cut the cabbage in half. The cabbage can be very hard to cut in half, so I use the cleaver. But with your French knife, then what you want to do is just come and cut the core out like a triangle. So we can get that bad core out. I'm going to put half of this cabbage in here onto the side because it takes up a big part of your cutting board. I'm going to take the extra leaf off, and then you can chop it. It does not have to be refined. It does not have to be like coleslaw. In fact, I use pretty big chunks for this recipe. You need a medium-sized cabbage for this. You don't need a giant cabbage for this. Sometimes if I get a big cabbage, then I just have way too much cabbage, and I don't need it all. But I always can cook fried cabbage later, so I always use it. Okay, and we're going to do the same with the other half of the cabbage, and then we're going to move over to the stove and get ready to start cooking. Okay, so you can see that the pieces of cabbage are pretty big, and there's a lot of cabbage, but it's going to cook down. If any of you are used to cooking Southern cabbage, you know that it cooks down, and it won't be like this once we're done with the recipe. Cabbage is one of the oldest vegetables in the world and used everywhere from Asia to Eastern Europe, in Germany, and of course here in the United States. I mean, almost every culture has a dish that uses cabbage, and so I love cabbage. My husband doesn't love it, but I make him eat it anyway, and he does eat this recipe, so let's move over to the stove. Okay, I have my wooden spoon. I've got some salt. Kosher salt's best. And then I have my mason jar. And this is about 2/3 cup water. I just do it by eye. If you need to add a little more later, I watch it as I fry it and see what I think. So fill up a mason jar to about 3/4 full. And then you know you've got enough, or just 2/3 cup of water. So I'm going to start by turning this on medium-high heat. Okay, so I'm just going to move this bacon around in here, let it fry up a little bit so we can get that grease and that bacon going. We don't want to get this too dark before we add the cabbage. We're just going to watch it by eye. While you're stirring this bacon, this is the time where you could belt out a tune if you felt like it. What do you like? Elton John, Billy Joel, James Taylor. I listened to some James Taylor too today. The boys love Sweet Baby James. I don't know what you like. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Some people like Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son. I listened to a song by him this morning, and it's really, really great. Still cooking this bacon. Steve, come down and take a little gander here. Let's take a look at it. Not quite where we want it to be, but you can see how the grease is kind of building up in the pan here. Okay, so this is getting to where we want it to be. You can see there's a little bit of browning on the edges of the bacon, a little bit of brown in the bottom of the pan. That's what we want. My husband said he listens to corn when he's kneading his bread. He likes to make bread, and he likes to listen to the band Corn. Does that make it cornbread? I don't think so. But whatever you like in the kitchen, go with it. All right, let's add our cabbage. Okay, I'm gonna add all of this cabbage. I've got my wooden spoon to the side. Never underestimate the power of a good spoon rest. Everybody needs a good spoon rest, guys. What you want. Invest in one. So we're gonna start this and just fry it up like Southern cabbage. I'm gonna put half in first. Now I'm gonna show you. Now I'm gonna stir this around as this really starts to fry this cabbage with the bacon. I'm gonna cut my heat down a little bit to medium. Had it on medium high before, now I'm down to medium. About 5 on my dial. You need to learn your stove and know your heat, the hot spots. The reason I add half at a time, we're gonna let this reduce a little bit before we add the second half. You see it cooks down pretty quick. A little big piece there, I don't like that. And like I said, sometimes you will have a little cabbage left over if you feel like there's too much. And it's too much to handle. It depends on the size of the cabbage that you get. I'm gonna fry this. We have not added the water yet, guys. Just the cabbage and the bacon. And we're just gonna kind of slightly fry this. Always moving to get that cabbage that was on the bottom now move to the top so the other can fry nicely. If we like Southern cabbage to have like a side item, we're gonna stop at a certain point in this process, and then that's how I'll serve it, and I'll show you that in a minute. But then if you don't wanna stop there and go on to the sausage and cabbage, we'll go on with that. But I serve this exactly the same way the way I do my Southern cabbage. I start exactly the same way, okay? So if I'm having corned beef, if I'm having pork chops, if I'm having something that I wanna serve the cabbage with, do this exactly the same way, okay? Southern fried cabbage. Boy, do I love cabbage. It smells so good. That bacon smells good. You can see it's starting to get glossy. That's what you want, that glossiness to start to appear. Then you know it's really getting more translucent and cooking and frying. It's almost exactly where I want it to be. All right. Now it is exactly where I want it to be. Next, it's really important that we add salt, a good amount of salt. Do it by hand because you don't want to, if I did it the other way, like this way, the whole thing could go in there. That's a little dangerous. Take our water. This is quite a bit of cabbage. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. There we go. That was another 1/4 cup. Now we're going to put a lid on it. I'm going to turn my stove down to like a 4. And I'm going to let that cook. Now, when that's done, which will be, I do it by eye, maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe not even that long. I'm just going to keep watching it. Then you would just serve it directly like that for fried Southern cabbage. We'll see that in a second. But now, let's go over and cut up some sausage. Okay, now we're going to cut up our sausage. This is smoked sausage. It's made with pork and turkey and beef. It's a regular smoked sausage from the grocery store. You can use any kind of a product you want. But if you go with something that's like Italian, that's going to be a little too spicy for this recipe. Go with just a traditional smoked sausage. This is 13 ounces. It comes with 2 links. I'm going to use all of those links in this recipe. And I'm just going to cut this into medallions. It's been about 5 minutes. We've cut up all of our sausage. I'm just going to check on the progress. Look at this. It looks really good. I'm going to let it reduce down a little bit more before I put my sausage in, but I think I'm only going to give it a couple more minutes. You want it to be glossy. You want it to be kind of steamed, which you can see the beautiful color is still there, and it's almost ready. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in my sausage. You can see. This sausage is going to just infuse that cabbage with that pork and that beef flavor. It is just going, every bite is just going to be infused with that delicious sausage. My husband loves to eat it with mustard on it. I do not want to sully the taste with that. You do what you want. He likes a little yellow mustard on it, which I guess is like a more German way to do it. So I'm stirring this up, and I'm gonna put my lid back on for about another 10 minutes. So about 5 or 6 minutes on the first fry with the lid on. I put the medallions in, and now I'm gonna let it sit for about 10 more minutes, and we'll come back and check it. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, it's beautiful. This is exactly how we want it. Look at that, gorgeous. Now, like I said, if you wanted just the southern cabbage, you just cook it the same way, minus the sausage. I'm ready to serve this up. I'm gonna turn my oven off. Southern sausage and cabbage. I hope you guys love this recipe. Like I said, it's so fast, so delicious, great for an evening when you're working and you just want to put something together, but it's from your heart. Remember, everything you cook comes from you, so make it count. So this is my favorite recipe. I hope you love it. Please subscribe, and I'll see you around real soon.